So we finished our warm-up, rolling down, crawling out onto 4-point kneeling. Hands in the shoulders, knees in the hips. When you're ready, bring yourself around and turn yourself all over onto your back. Setting ourselves up in neutral whilst lying on our backs. Keep the feet and knees hip width apart, foot flat on the floor. Make sure the pelvis is in neutral so there's space enough between the lower back and the floor to hold a grape on its end. Not tall so it rolls away, nor flattened so it gets squashed. Engage our core and attach those springs, bottom of ribs to the top of the hips to reduce that rib cage flaring out and up and also changing the shape in that lower back. Float those collarbones apart, allow the shoulder blades to melt into the floor as the hands rest by the side. Keep that elongated neck, pull tall from the crown of the head, string now going across the floor towards the wall and the orange still held gently under the chin. Going to start with scapular isolation. So we're going to take a breath in, float the hands up to the vertical, palms face towards each other and a slight bend in the elbow. Recognise how much of your upper back, in particular the shoulder blade area, is in contact with the floor. Just to help us set that and refresh it if needs be, we take a breath in and exhale. One of my hands floats up to the ceiling, gap between the shoulder blade and the floor, and on the inhale we allow it all to come back down and melt into the ground a little bit more so. Repeat on the other side. Breath in, exhale, inhale to return and melt into the floor. Repeat alternate scapular isolation, keeping your core under control, strong through that midsection, allowing those shoulder blades to melt into the ground. One more each side. Allow those hands to float down to the side of the body, resting no greater angle than 45 degrees at the armpit. We're going to go into level one leg stretch just to refresh the leg movement. We will be going back into using the upper body shortly, combining the two moves together. Breath into prep, exhale. Slide the heel across the floor, keeping the pelvis strong, square and stable, headlights and hips pointing up. Inhale, draw that foot back into the start position. Exhale, out. Inhale to return. This is just making sure we've got muscle memory increased. When we straighten that leg, give those quads, the front of the thigh, a little bit of an extra work to make sure the leg is straight. As you slide that heel out, the ankle can remain in a soft joint position. We're not looking for ballet pointy toes, nor duck foot pointing to the ceiling. Controlling our movement on the breath out and on the return. And come to rest there. Okay, going to work through scissor complex, making sure we're refreshed with that positioning. Breath into prep. Exhale, float the first leg into tabletop, hip and knee 90 degrees, shin parallel to the ground and ankle relaxed. Hold for breath, exhale to lower. On to the other side, breath in prep, exhale to float. Hold for breath in, exhale to lower. Making sure the movement is occurring at the hip. We're not tightening or adjusting our position through the upper body. Nice floating collarbones apart. Shoulder blades melting into the ground. Gentle quad engagement to help keep the knee flexed at 90 degrees and not let the heel drop to the bum. Last one on each side. And then into level two. So double tabletop, float the leg up, lock those springs down, continue to breathe out, bring the second leg up. Hold for breath in, exhale low, 1 and 2. Make sure we change the lead leg. So the first leg that comes up And the first leg that we lower, make sure we change it round. We do have habit movement patterns. By changing that habit, we just stimulate our neural pathways a little bit more, so keep the brain working, keep the muscles guessing. One more, level 2. Into level 3. Float the first leg on the tabletop, hold for breath in. On the exhale, swap the legs over. Making sure the knee comes above the hip, keep that thigh vertical when it comes to the tabletop. Hip and knee at 90 degrees. Relax through the rest of the body. Control through the core. Three, 2, and 1. Lower those feet down. Give the fronts of the hips and the thighs a gentle massage, working from the extreme back towards the body. Help clear any waste product out that we've built up. Okie dokes. So we're going to move now into a level 2 leg stretch, and then we're going to bring that combination move. A double overhead reach. Double leg stretch, sorry. So, level 2 leg stretch, working from level 1 scissor. Breath into prep. Exhale into tabletop. Hold for breath in. This time we exhale, straighten the leg, keep the thighs parallel, knees side by side. Inhale to return, and exhale to lower. Swap to the other side. Exhale. Inhale, hold. Exhale to straighten. Inhale, return. Exhale to lower. Level 2 leg stretch. Still maintain nice relaxed body through the upper half. Collarbones floating apart. Shoulder blades melting into the floor. As we extend that leg from tabletop into leg stretch level 2, make sure we're not allowing the pelvis to drop on that side. Keep the pelvis strong, square, and stable. One more on each side. Wonderful. Okay, just give that lower back a bit of stretch. It might start to feel a bit tight with that core working. Draw the arms up into the capital T shape, reaching out to the sides, armpits at 90 degrees, and blue tack those knees and ankles together. We're going to do level 2 hip twist. So allow both knees to turn in one direction, turn the head in the opposite direction. Hold that position for 2 breath cycles. That's breath in and out. In and out. In. And on the third exhale, draw the knees up, over, turn the head the other way. And turn them over, making sure as my knees turn to the left, my right shoulder is blue tacked to the ground, me looking over my right shoulder. And draw them over one more time. And bring those knees back into the middle. Return those feet and knees to hip width apart. So we're going to combine with a single leg stretch. Sorry, level 2 leg stretch and overhead reach. Float the arms to the vertical. Keep those shoulder blades mounted to the floor. Remember what we did with the scap isolation at the beginning. Breath in. Float one leg into tabletop. And when we exhale next time, we float the hands above the head. Extending the leg with the knee. And draw the hands back. Exhale, lower the foot to the floor. Swap feet. Exhale to float. Inhale, hold. Exhale to reach above the head and level 2 leg stretch. Inhale, return to start position. Exhale, lower that foot down. Keep those springs working through the move so we don't see our ribcage flare out and up, and we don't allow that pelvis to drop, particularly on the side of the leg stretch movement. Check that space in the small of the back, making sure we're not lifting nor squashing as we overhead reach and level 2 leg stretch. Two more on each side. Last one on each side coming up. And rest the hands down by the floor. Okay, we're going to jump straight into level 3 hip twist. So again, working from tabletop, single leg scissor, we float the leg up, keeping the hip and knee vertical to begin with. We then exhale, float the whole leg out to the side, making sure the foot stays hidden behind the knee. Inhale, draw it back to start. Exhale to lower. Swap to the other side, tabletop. Hold for breath. Exhale to float out. Inhale to return. Springs and core working to control through this core and allow the movement to happen at the hip. Keep the opposite buttock glued tapped to the floor. So as I float my left leg up, glue that bottom down, float the left knee out, right buttock glued, draw it back to the middle and lower. Two more on each side. Last one. And being creature of habit, we're going to combine those two moves together. So level 3 hip twist and the overhead reach. Float the hands up to the vertical, palm face in, elbow slightly bent, shoulder blades melt into the floor. Just give them a bit of an extra isolation, scat work, and relax. Float one leg into tabletop, inhale to prep, and as we exhale, level 3 hip twist and double overhead reach. Inhale, back to that start position, exhale, lower the foot down. Second leg. Keep the movement slow, controlled, making sure we work the muscles through all the range that we can manage. And the same points remain as the hip twist turns out to the side. Keep the opposite buttock glued tapped to the floor. Keep the stationary knee pointing to the ceiling. And only go as far as you can with the overhead reach without that rib cage flaring out and up. The rib cage can slide, the springs can stretch, but we're not allowing that shape in our lower back to change. Once more on each leg. And relax those hands back down to the side. We're going to return to level 2 hip twist, so keep the arms out to the side, armpit to 90 degrees, blue tack knee and ankle together. Breath into prep. Allow the knees to turn one way and turn the head the other, just giving a gentle stretch to that lower back. 2 breath cycles in position. And draw the knees up and over and turn the head the other way. Once more in each direction. And draw those legs back into the middle. Feet and knees hip width apart. We're going to turn onto our side into clam position. Work through clam complex. Start with a clam level 1. This time arm, head rest and head, shoulder stacked on shoulder, hip stacked on hip, feet, pelvis and shoulder blades up against the imaginary wall. So slight bend in the hip and the knees drifting in front of the body. Keep that top hand resting on the top hip, teapot handle style. Keep it pressed down to the feet, space at the waist, space enough for alignments to go marching through. Clam level 1, feet together and resting on the floor. Breath in and exhale, float the top knee up. Inhale to lower. Make sure we don't tilt backwards in that pelvis. Muscles just behind the hip joint in the glutes, creating that movement. Three more. Rest those knees down. If you need a gentle rub, a gentle massage around just behind that hip joint, working those glutes, now's the time to do so. We're going to adjust that movement slightly, so a leg stretch, so straight leg kick. Float the knee up, straighten the leg at the knee, bend the knee, bring your foot back to its partner, and lower the knee down. So it's a level 1 clam, straighten that leg at the knee. Make sure we don't fidget with our hip position. So as I straighten my leg, don't change the position of that hip, because when my foot comes back, it should come back to where it started, i.e. touching the other foot. If we fidget through that hip joint, we're likely to see our foot space or gap apart as I bend that knee and bring the foot back to where it should have started. Three more. Rest those knees down. Give around the outside of the hip and maybe at the top of that thigh, gentle massage just to encourage a bit of blood supply back to the area. So we're going to jump straight to a level 3. So straighten our lower leg, keep the top leg bent, foot resting on the calf muscle below. We're looking to challenge our balance, so keep that top hand on the hip, If you do need to rest it on the floor, keep a fingertip touch, like you're resting on a plate of jelly. The aim with this, though, is to try if you can, keep that hand on the hip, challenge the balance. So we'll have less lift in the knee, we'll have more control in the movement. Breath in, exhale, clam level 3, float the knee up, inhale to lower. Last one. Bring both those knees to the front, hip and knee at 90 degrees. Give the outside of the hip a gentle massage. When we're ready, we're going to turn our heads to the other end of the mat and repeat the clam complex on the other side. So setting ourselves up as before, arm, head rest and head, shoulder stacked on shoulder, hip stacked on hip, feet, pelvis and shoulder blades up against the imaginary wall. Top hand, teapot handle style, pressing that top hip down to the feet and that space at the waist. Core and springs working to keep the pelvis still. We're going to start with that clam level 1 again, so feet together, resting on the ground. Breath in, exhale, float the top knee up. Inhale to lower. Three to go. Rest those knees down, outside of hip, gentle massage if you need to. We're going to do the clam level 1 with the leg extension. So breath in, exhale, we float the knee up, straighten the leg at the knee, keeping the hip in fixed position. Bend the knee, foot returns to its partner, and lower the knee down. Exhale. Inhale. Three to go. And rest those knees together. Give the outside of the hip a massage. And when we're ready, transfer it to level 3. So straighten that lower leg. Keep the top foot resting on the lower leg calf muscle. Keep the pelvis strong, square and stable. Think about bottom muscles, both sides, and the core working to keep the balance. Level 3 clam. Breath in. Exhale, float the top knee up. Inhale to lower. Three more. And draw both those knees forwards, give the outside hip a gentle rub. Okay, before we turn into 4-point kneeling, we're going to give those glutes a little bit of a stretch. So, turn over onto your back. Head supported. I'm going to cross my left leg over my right. So the outside of my left ankle is resting on top of my right thigh. I'm then going to take my hands and hook them around my right leg. If I find this a little bit difficult, I can use a towel or TheraBand around the hamstring area on that right leg. And when I'm ready, I take a breath and exhale. I pull the knee towards me, feeling the stretch coming through the glutes on that crossing leg. Holding that position, steady breathing, just to that point of tension in the muscle. If I find that starts to reduce ever so, just pull that knee in a little bit further. So at the moment, stretching through glutes. If I take my left elbow and push the left knee out to the side, I'll feel the point of attack change slightly. I'm now working through the piriformis. Stretching that muscle, giving a bit of release. And let that foot come to the floor. Uncross that left leg and cross the right leg over. Hook the hands around the left hamstring, the back of the thigh. And pull the left knee in towards the tummy. Feel that stretch coming through the glutes on the right hand side. Right elbow, pressing out on the inside of the right knee, so the knee's being pushed out to the side. Again, feel that stretch through now the piriformis, not just the glutes, on the right side. If that tension starts to reduce, don't be afraid to pull that knee in a little bit closer, re-engage that tension, but don't try and pull so hard that you create an obscene amount of tension in that glute area. Find a point of tension, settling breaths, help the muscle relax. Release that pressure with the elbow, allow that left knee to float down to the floor. Uncross the legs. We're going to turn ourselves over into 4-point kneeling, and from here we're going to work on a box press up. So a box press up starts off initially hands under feet, under shoulders, knees under hips. Allow the top of the feet to rest on the floor. Keeping the back nice and flat, we're just going to make sure we're centered. So we're going to cat stretch first. We're going to drop the chin to chest, tuck the tailbone under, and allow the back to arch up towards the ceiling, pushing through the hands and the knees. Let the head hang heavy, stretching through that back. And then allow everything to reverse. Draw the eye line up, tailbone floating up to the ceiling, pelvis tilting forwards, and that tummy hanging down. Sunday lunch tummy. Breath in and exhale into cat stretch. Exhale into Sunday lunch. Do that once more at the extreme. Cat stretch. Into Sunday lunch. Tummy hanging low. Now work between those two extremes, moving backwards and forwards, up and down, until we find ourselves a nice flat position. So, box press up. We're going to move the hands slightly further forward, so they're just in front of shoulder position. And what we want to do is try and keep the elbows next to the side of the chest. So if we're stuck with this, we find our elbows drift out to the side. What I want you to do, take your hands, imagine they're in jam jar lids, and turn the thumb, so the thumb is now pointing at 1 o'clock and the index finger is pointing out to the sides. If I bend my elbows, I find it much easier to keep them by the side of my body. This is going to focus on the tricep, the back of the upper arm. So hands slightly in front of shoulder position, thumbs pointing 12 o'clock, fingers pointing out at an angle. Keeping my elbows by the side of the body, I'm going to lower my head towards the headrest and bring myself back into 4-point kneeling, making sure the back stays flat throughout the move. Having the hand position slightly turned out means I engage the upper back, but I am focusing predominantly on that tricep area, the back of the upper arm. Control the movement in both directions. Using my knees as that point of fulcrum. 3 more. Okay, so with my elbows close to the body, I'm going to engage my tricep. If I take my hands slightly wider, still keep the thumb pointing to 12 o'clock, the fingers pointing out to the side, I can engage the pectoral, the muscle at the front of the chest. So we're going to repeat the same movement, similar to a box press up, with my hands slightly wider now, well outside, shoulder width apart. So I'm going to take my breath, exhale, lower my head towards the headrest, and back up again. Make sure the elbow doesn't go outside the wrist. So if I were to look at the forearms during this, I'd have elbows above wrists. It's just much more comfortable and would put less pressure on the wrist joint itself. Think about those pectorals, the chest muscles, pinching together to draw me back into that 4-point kneeling position. Three more. And come to rest there. Give the arms a gentle rub, and if we need to, we can draw the arm across the front of the chest, holding above the elbow, and hug that forearm, that bicep towards the chest. Feel the stretch coming through the tricep on that crossing arm. Repeat on the other side. Left arm across the front, right arm hooked just above the elbow, pulling the bicep in towards the chest. Feel the stretch through the back of the upper arm. Relax. Okay, so we usually have balance challenge. We talk about balancing on our feet and our even load. We're going to do a bit of even loading and balancing through our hands using the box press up to start. So the challenge here is to make sure I keep my hands evenly loaded. I'm not leaning over to one side. So to do this, we start in our box press up position, hands narrow or wide, it's up to you. Thumbs pointing up at 12 o'clock, fingers pointing out to the angle. I'm going to slide one leg back like I would for a swimmer prep and then float the leg towards the horizontal, keeping the bottom muscles working. I'm going to take a breath in, and when I exhale, I'm going to lower my head towards the headrest and back up again, making sure I'm evenly loaded through both hands. We usually consider both feet, but in this situation, my bottom muscle keeps the hip extended. So as I drop my head towards the headrest, evenly loaded through my hands, my foot comes up at the rear. Three more. Draw that leg down and swap the feet over. Slide the second leg back, float the leg towards the horizontal, keeping my spine nice and neutral and flat. And then lower the head towards the floor and up again. So we're still producing that box press up move. Hip extended so it's open at the front. Foot elevates as I drop my head to the floor and back up again. Try and keep the hands evenly loaded. So we're working both hands evenly. Three more. Wonderful. Bring those knees underneath. We're going to do arm threads. So to start off with, we're going to take our left hand. Bring our hands back into the shoulders. We're then going to take our left hand, thread the arm underneath the right hand side, drop the left shoulder to the floor, follow the left hand with the eyes. Hold for breath in. And exhale. Draw the arm out, up and around. Float the hand up towards the ceiling, opening up that chest, mobilizing the back. Hold for breath in. Exhale, return that hand to the floor. Swap to the other side, arm thread. Feel that stretch through the upper back. Draw the arm out, up and around. Float the hand up towards the ceiling. Hand back down. And repeat on that first side. controlling movement in time with our breath. Once more in each arm. Okay, we're going to give ourselves a bit more time to stretch. So we're going to work a child pose. Take those knees slightly wider than hip width. Reach the hands forwards. And then drop the bottom to that space between the feet. Try and lower the forehead and the chest towards the floor whilst keeping the fingertips reaching away as far as possible. You may feel a bit of clunking or stretching around the chest and upper back, or slightly under the armpits. Hands are currently pointing at 12 o'clock, so take a breath. Draw the right hand over to 1 o'clock, bring the left hand across to join it, and allow that stretch to feel down the left hand side. If we're not feeling any stretch, think about trying to squash the left armpit into the floor. Feel the stretch coming through the left tricep, and also down the left rear corner of the body. Deep breath. Take the left hand over from 1 o'clock all the way across to 11 o'clock, and the right hand comes across to join it. Again, thinking about trying to squash that right armpit into the floor if we're not feeling any stretch coming down that rear corner of the body. Relaxing into the position each time we breathe out. Draw both hands to 12 o'clock. Reach those fingers a little bit further away. Hopefully we're able to get them a little bit further away from the head this time. And slowly, we're going to draw ourselves back into 4-point kneeling. Lower through the elbows, and back onto the hands. Okay, we're going to stretch through our hip flexors, the front of our hips. So this time, bring ourselves nice and tall, into tall kneeling, and then we're going to grounded knee and our foot knee. The grounded knee, let's make sure we have our tailbone tucked under, so we tip the pelvis backwards. That should start to feel a bit of a stretch through the front there. We're then going to push the whole thing forwards. Lean forwards onto that front foot and feel the stretch coming through the hip flexors to the front of that grounded knee side. Working through this section here, just to the front of the hip. Again, if that area of tension starts to reduce, adjust slightly, you can lean a bit further forwards, feel that tension catch in again. Hold nice and controlled. And relax. Swap the knees over. So still in that tall, single kneeling position. Tuck the tailbone under. Push the pelvis forwards. Lean onto that front foot. Don't let the knees go too far in front of the toes. If you need to, just move that front foot slightly further forwards so the knee doesn't go past the toe there. relaxed. Okay, we're going to give our lower back a little bit of stretch this time. So bring yourself into seated, into saw position. So legs pointing out and creating somewhere between 45 and 90 degrees at the inside of the thigh. Legs nice and straight, ankles relaxed. We're going to float our hands up and above the arms, so they're going to mirror that positioning. We're going to take a breath, exhale. My right hand is going to come across, hold that mirror position, that distance between the hands, and then I'm going to lower my hand towards the floor, feeling the stretch through the inside of the thighs, and also across that lower corner of my back. Reaching to the outside of the ankle, so my right hand is reaching to the outside of my left ankle. Keeping both buttock glutes out to the floor. Breath in, exhale, up and across. Keep that hand width positioning. And then lower my left hand to the outside of my right ankle. If you need to rest the other hand on the floor, please do. That might give you a bit more range of movement. But you try and reach without dropping that hand to the floor and keeping the opposite buttock glued to the ground again. Inhale, exhale, up, across, and over. Exhale, up, across, and over. Hand reaching over to the outside of the ankle. Exhale, up, across, and over. Last time, coming up and over. Exhale, up, across, and over. Up, back into the middle. Finishing off with pigeon stretch. So back into 4-point kneeling. Face the camera so you can see what's happening here. Hands slightly wider than shoulder width. Draw one knee in between and then slide the rear leg further back. Drop the buttock that corresponds with the front leg to the floor. Keep the hips square, shoulder square. And try and drop that bottom to the floor. Feel the stretch coming through the glutes. So if the other stretch got some reaction, this may seem to have a little bit more. If you wish to take it a step further, lower yourself down onto your elbows. Again, trying to keep the pelvis and shoulders as square as we can. If that tension starts to decrease, on the exhale, just drop that buttock slightly further down. Bring yourself back onto hands, load through the hands, and return that front knee to the rear. I'll show you from the side on for the second one. Taking my second leg, placing it between my hands, and then sliding that rear foot back. Dropping the buttock on that front leg to the floor. Pelvis and shoulders square, facing front. Each breath out, we're reducing that tension in that muscle a little bit more. And again, if we want to take it that step further, we can lower our elbows to the ground. Stretching through that glute. And bring yourself back onto your hands, load through the hands, slide that front knee back, and back into 4-point kneeling. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the session. See you again soon.